Well, hello, Mr. Nanny. How are you doing today?
Very well, thank you.
You know, I was thinking of the perfect title to introduce you in our call today, and I really could not just think of one. You're not really a one title kind of guy. You have one of, if not the most storied careers of anyone involved in the game of ice hockey. Minnesota legend, Gopher All-American, your years with the North Stars as a player, as the GM, broadcaster now, husband, father, grandfather, great grandfather, the list goes on. But I first want to go back to 1959. You grew up in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Then you came over to Minnesota with some dentist aspirations, which was kind of funny to me because hockey players seem to have their dentist on speed dial. So what made you give up the dentistry route?
Well, I was looking towards that kind of career because my uncle was a dentist. My mother wanted me to be a dentist like her brother and thought it'd be a good lifestyle. But I took a couple pre-dent courses and I found out I wasn't suited for it because I just I did a biology class, dissected a frog. Frog jumped out of the plate, and I said, "What am I doing?" So I really didn't have the appetite for it myself. So I went over and changed it, took interest tests, and they said I had a high, strong sales interest and business interest. So I went to business school instead.
Wow. And in Minnesota, as we both know, is the state of hockey. What were your first impressions of the state?
Well, I didn't even know where Minnesota was when they had me fly down to see the school. And when I was driving around, looking around, and as I got to see more of the state itself, it reminded me a lot of Ontario, where I'm from. A lot like Northern Ontario. Minnesota's got, it's a green place, a lot of lakes, cold weather. You got a lot of snow.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the people had the same kind of temperament. The I'd say the kind of personalities that people have as well. And meeting and greeting people and getting to know them reminded me a lot of my hometown.
Herb Brooks, another legendary hockey icon like yourself. You knew him well. Can you talk about your relationship with him?
Well, Herb and I got to know each other because my first year on the Gophers, he was a senior, and then when I graduated, I got a contract to speak with the Blackhawks, so I went to work. But on the weekend, I was playing in Rochester, Minnesota. It was like a semi-professional team, and we play every Saturday and Sunday. And they had 8 players down there, and they needed 7 more, so they asked me to get 6 players. So I had 6 players besides myself, and one of the guys that I signed was Herb. And so we played together down there for a while. And then we were co-captains of the '68 Olympic team, and I was coaching the freshman team at the university at the time. And I decided when the Olympics were over, now Chicago couldn't keep me on their list anymore, so I was a free agent. So the North Stars got a franchise, and I told her I was going to turn pro when the Olympics were over, and I wanted him to take my job coaching the freshman team. And first, he didn't have any aspirations to be a coach, but we talked about it, and I talked to Glenn Sonmore, and he was agreeable to it. And so Herb and I went to meet Marsh Ryman, the athletic director, and he said okay to it. So I left, and Herb started coaching at the university.
Another fantastic coach, Brett Larson. I was just chatting with him earlier this week, and he wanted to know if you remembered that he was the first one to recruit your grandson, Tyler, at OSU.
Yes, I do remember. In fact, uh, Tyler was very excited to play there, and Brett did a great job, you know, actually recruiting him. And he thought about going there, and then he decided to go there. And so he was unfortunately struck with myocarditis, which is a
Hmm.
heart disease, second biggest killer kid. So he couldn't play while he was at Ohio State, and then Ohio State doctors wouldn't let him play with myocarditis, so he transferred to Minnesota. And Brett at the time, I think, was gone to Duluth, and I was thinking he was going to probably end up with Brett because he really liked uh, playing for him and getting to know him when he was recruiting.
While we're on that topic of college hockey, Minnesota now has 6 Division I programs. Unfortunately, the teams are in 3 different conferences. But how have you seen hockey kind of evolve over the years?
Well, it's really grown in the United States. When I turned pro in 1968, there were only 2 Americans in the league. One was Tommy Williams, and I was the other one. And I was a naturalized citizen. Well, now if you look at it, you got, I'd say, just about 28% players in the National League are American.
Yeah.
The programs throughout the country, we play hockey now in 35 states. Minnesota's got more hockey players, guys and girls, in the state of Minnesota than you have in any place in the world, with the exception of the province of Ontario and the country of Sweden. So Minnesota itself has been one of the leaders in the game. When you look overall, the country has really grown in hockey and popularity, and the whole country has increased hundredfold. So it's a completely different picture today than it used to be.
And you're going on your 60th year calling the Minnesota State Boys Hockey Tournament, which is so special. Do you have any games in the broadcast booth that just really stand out to you?
Yeah, well, my son scored the winning goal for Edina in the championship game. That was one. His son Louis played in the championship game, was captain of the team. That was another one. And then his other son Tyler was captain of Edina when they won the championship. So those 3 are my favorites because they're my family.
Yeah.
But then I did the long one, Apple Valley in Duluth, which was sensational. I think it was 5 overtimes. It seemed like I wasn't going to get home that night. That was an incredible one. And then the last couple of years, they've been outstanding games as well. The championship game 2 years ago was as good as it gets. So when you're working that long and that many games, when you take a look at it, you start off with 4 games the first day, 2 the second, 1 the third. So it's 7 games a year, and you multiply that by the number of years.
Mhm.
There's a lot of games to choose from.
Yes, a ton of games. I couldn't even imagine, but I couldn't even imagine a better person to ask. But what is one piece of advice that you would give a young hockey player today, whether that be a life lesson that you were once told or more game wise? What would you tell them?
Make sure you play for fun and enjoyment, because if you're going to stay with the game, there are going to be tough times no matter who you are. And the thing that carries you through is you love the game. So maintain your love for the game, respect for the game. And if you want to play the game at higher levels, you got to work hard and practice. And if you're good, doesn't matter where you're playing, the NHL will find you. So you got to stay dedicated, stay committed, work hard, and enjoy it, have fun.
And what makes you love the game of hockey so much?
Well, you'd have to play it, I guess, to understand how much fun it is. I played all the sports, but I just have a certain affinity for the game. I just enjoy the speed, the contact, the action, the team effort, the individual things you can do. It's an exciting game. It's just often I said I can't imagine getting paid for a game I'd play for nothing. And I say that the same when I talk about how much the players make today. I said, it's amazing because every one of those players playing would be playing for nothing, and now they're playing for millions. And because the game is so much fun to participate in.
Well, Lou, thank you so much for your time today. You mentioned to me that you have a flight to Italy next week, so enjoy your time there, and truly do appreciate your time.
Thank you. Nice to be with you.